What's going to happen? Okay, so you've done your bit checking on legislation, I've just checked on my legislation. As I said to you, the shop does not have to accept it just because it is legal tender. You said it's legal tender, you are correct, however it is a commemorative coin. On the internet they're worth about 20 quid.
Well,
right, so here is what is going to happen. Either you are going to pay for your fuel correctly, or you are going to fill out their civil recovery form so that you can arrange to make payment at a later date, or I'm going to arrest you for bilking.
What's bilking?
Bilking, making off without payment. You've got to the point where payment is due, you're now refusing to make payment, therefore I will treat it as a criminal offence. So how would you wish to proceed at this point?
Well, I have got means to pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not going to fill out a civil recovery form.
Okay, right, so what's the means that
what was the option 2?
So option 1 is either you pay, option 2 is you fill out the form, option 3 is that you get arrested.
Well, pay.
No, you pay with legal tender that they will accept.
That is legal tender.
No, they don't have...
But if this is a £50 note and he said, oh look, we don't accept £50 notes because there's lots of forgeries,
exactly.
Would you be doing exactly the same thing now?
Yes, so if you go into a corner shop and try and pay for a penny chew with a £50 note, they are perfectly within their rights to refuse that sale.
But this is different because...
No, it's not different.
No,
you have offered a form of payment that they will not accept. The principle is exactly the same.
Well, if you arrest me, it'll be a wrongful arrest.
Yeah? It's not, it's a lawful arrest because I've explained the situation and I've explained that I believe you're doing this for
Are you a sergeant or an officer?
I am a sergeant.
Right.
Okay, so my point is also that coin is not worth the face value of it. It's not legal tender in such a way that this shop has to accept it as being valued.
Alright guys, buckle up, because this one escalates fast. What starts as a simple fuel stop at a Tesco petrol station turns into a full-blown legal showdown. The man calmly offers to pay using a £100 Royal Mint coin, yes, legal tender, but staff instantly refuse and call the police. Now here's where it gets wild. The officer shows up already assuming guilt, pushing the narrative that this is making off without payment. But hold on a second. How can someone be accused of not paying when they are literally standing there offering payment? This isn't confusion, this is the beginning of a serious misunderstanding of the law, and it's about to spiral out of control.
£100. Okay, so it has... Hang on.
Short of the mark.
No, I'm not. So it is got a face value of £100, so it is worth £100.
It's not.
Well, you say that, but the Bank of England, the House of Commons, the state, all the institutions that came before you say it is. Right, but you say it isn't, right? Now you say it's only worth whatever you say it was. Interestingly, I don't know if you've looked at the price of silver, but that's probably worth about £48 in silver. Hang on, I haven't finished yet. So that's £48 in silver. Yeah. Whereas, how much is a £20 note or a £50 note worth in plastic? What, a penny or two? You ought to check to make sure it's not an unlawful arrest.
Another unit, please. This chap's about to be arrested.
Would be unlawful arrest.
Well, it's not a wrongful arrest.
It would be a wrongful arrest. Well, how can you arrest somebody for refusing to pay when they're offering to pay with a coin of the realm?
Because you're not offering to pay with payment that they can accept, or will accept, or have to accept. No.
Now, interestingly, you said that you've done some research on this, and I've done this before. Yeah. Well, what was the outcome of it last time?
It was no further action.
Why was that then?
I don't know.
Well, how come you've got a record of that?
I'm about to let you drive off from here.
Well, how come you got a record that I did it last time, but you haven't got a record of the outcome?
Why? Because I haven't got time to look at that right now.
But you have got time to arrest me and deal with all the paperwork that'll be involved in that.
Yep.
So that's just abusing your power, I think, because what you're trying to do
is you're power proportionally. These people here are trying to run a business, and you are making life extremely difficult by being obstructive in how you're going to pay.
No, I'm not.
Alright, now listen carefully, because this is where the pressure starts building. The sergeant lays out 3 options like it's some kind of ultimatum: pay another way, fill out a civil recovery form, or get arrested. That's right, arrested. The man stands his ground, calmly explaining that once the fuel is pumped, it's no longer a simple transaction, it's a debt. And guess what? Offering legal tender clears that debt. But the officer? He's not having it. Instead of checking the law, he doubles down, comparing it to shops refusing £50 notes. Completely missing the point. This isn't about preference anymore, this is about legal obligation. And the tension? Yeah, it's rising fast.
I'm only here to enforce the law, I'm not here to decide. I just suspect that an offence has taken place, okay? So I'm not convicting you, and you're refusing, to cooperate with me any further. You're refusing to resolve this situation by giving these people your details. So therefore,
No, I don't, because what you're trying to encourage me to do is not to give them my details, but to fill out a legally binding form. You're actually encouraging me to fill out a legally binding form, right? That would be detrimental to me.
Why? Because you have to pay for your fuel just like everybody else at this petrol station?
No, because you're forcing me not to use cash. It's exactly the same as you...
No, I'm forcing you to provide the legal tender that this business is willing to accept.
But it's not for them to pick and choose.
It is, absolutely.
No, it's not.
If they will only accept payment in Pokemon cards, that is entirely up to them.
Yeah, but they need to state that on the pump, right, when I take the fuel. They need to say payment only in Pokemon. I'm not trying to... What do you think I'm trying to achieve then out of this?
So why are you not willing to offer any other sort of payment? Do you have bank cards on you?
Maybe it's a matter of principle. This is a coin of the realm. You shouldn't be threatening to arrest me because of their preference as to what type of note, or your job is it to state what type of coin that Tesco accepts or not?
Surely, it's my job to make sure that you don't go past the point of payment without making.
Well, I haven't driven off, have I? I've got every intention of paying with this coin.
No.
If I had no intention, if I was trying to do something dishonest, I'd driven off, wouldn't I? But the fact is, I've waited here for you to come, and I've discussed it with you.
Now it gets even worse, because the officer starts questioning the value of the coin itself. He claims it's only worth the metal inside, not the £100 face value. Seriously? That's a massive red flag. Currency doesn't work based on personal opinion, it's defined by law. The man pushes back hard, pointing out that institutions like the Royal Mint and government assign that value, not a random officer on the scene. At this point, it's clear we're not just dealing with a disagreement. We're watching a complete breakdown in legal understanding. And instead of stepping back and reassessing, the officer keeps digging himself deeper into a hole.
Don't be rude, have I? In any way. I've got no disrespect for the police whatsoever. Might go downhill a bit if you arrest me unlawfully.
Okay.
I just think, please, just check that it's a lawful arrest, because I don't think it is.
I believe it is.
And the whole point of cash and legal tender is that you cannot be successfully prosecuted for non-payment if you've offered legal tender. So, if I had Scottish notes, right, now they're not legal tender in the UK, they're not legal tender full stop, but Tesco's actually accept those. An invitation to take the fuel, and I've taken the fuel, and now I've got a debt, and I'm offering to pay the debt in legal tender. Now in the store it's different, because I haven't taken the food, have I? In fact, if I'd have eaten the food, I'd be obligated to pay for it, and then it'd be the same scenario, just the same as if you went into a restaurant and had a meal, and then you have to pay afterwards, and you offered to pay in that, right, they can't lawfully have you prosecuted for failure to pay if you've offered a reasonable means of payment and they've refused to accept it.
Yeah, but you've refused to identify yourself to this person.
Well, I don't need to, do I?
I'm now starting to view your actions as being dishonest.
How have I been dishonest?
I suspect an offence is going to
How have I been dishonest?
Because you're refusing to give your information to this gentleman, so that...
But he's not entitled to my information, is he?
He is.
Okay, if I told you what my...
Because you have a debt to settle up with him.
So
to go to the restaurant scenario, if you ate your meal and then said, I've forgotten my wallet, I've got no means of paying.
Oh, no means of paying.
Yeah, okay. So at that point you're not being dishonest. At the point that you refuse to identify yourself, or you put Mickey Mouse care of Disney World on a piece of paper and say, here's my details, you're then becoming dishonest.
What about if, like, we went to the restaurant, we had a meal, right, and then I pulled out a £50 note and they said, look, we don't accept £50 notes. They can't make a decision about refusing to accept the £50 notes when you owe them money. They can only refuse to go through with the transaction in the first place. It's only because you've had the goods and you owe a debt that they can't refuse to accept the money. So these coins are made by the Royal Mint.
Yep, and they are legal tender.
And they are legal tender. Yeah. So how can I be refusing to pay and being dishonest in any way when I'm offering to pay with a coin of the realm, a legal tender coin?
Because you've offered a form of payment that they are unable or unwilling to accept. Therefore, as I said...
Alright guys, here's the turning point, and it's huge. The man explains something incredibly simple. He hasn't left, he hasn't refused to pay, and he's made his intentions crystal clear. That alone destroys the entire accusation of making off without payment. But instead of backing off, the officer shifts focus, trying to label the situation as suspicious just because the man won't hand over personal details. Think about that for a second. No crime committed, no attempt to flee. Yet the situation is being twisted into something criminal. This is where authority starts crossing the line, and you can feel the situation slipping into dangerous territory.
The onus is on you to find alternative means. You've failed to do that, and you are now proposing to leave here without actually giving any means of identification so they can arrange at a later date to make payment with you.
Okay.
So therefore, because of that, I suspect that you are about to commit an offence of making off without payment.
See, now I reckon that if you've offered to pay, and I've offered to pay lots of times, got it on video, and right, and they refuse to accept the payment, I can't see how that I've committed a crime, even if I don't pay.
To provide an alternative means of payment or come to an alternative agreement.
So what you're suggesting is that you're going to arrest me based on the opinion of a Tesco staff member, whereas another member of staff might have.
Based on my suspicion.
Suspicion.
I'm sure with the amount of time this gentleman has spent here, and the fact that other colleagues are aware of the fact that we have been here for half an hour?
Nah, 16 minutes.
I'm sure if he were able to take that coin, he would have done it by now, because he's got plenty of other things to do. You are costing them money by the fact that your car's sat here taking out these two lanes.
Well, I've offered to move it, but he said no.
If they could...
I offered to move it, but he said no.
But if they were willing to take this at any point, they would have done that.
Now, don't you think, Ben, right, that the country's biggest retailer would have a simple, basic understanding of coins of the realm and the legal tender situation and what they can do and what they can't do?
Well, they clearly do by the fact that they are not obliged to take it just because it's legal tender.
Because he said so. But how do you know he's right? And how do you know that what he's saying is the opinion of Tesco's as a company as a whole?
It's not that he's right, it's that the Bank of England is right, and it's the Bank of England that states that the shopkeepers are not legally obliged to accept any royal tender.
Right, okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, but that's referring to buying something from a store, not for paying a debt.
Okay, it's still the same,
no, it's not.
Same situation.
No,
okay.
It's not.
That's fine.
It's actually on the Bank of England website what legal tender is.
Yeah, it is. As I said, I have no argument with you about that at all. So I'm arresting you on suspicion of making off without payment. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something on which you later will rely on in court. Anything you do say may be within the evidence. Do you understand?
Yep.
Okay, so my intention at this time is to take you to Exeter Police Station, where you will be put into custody. The reason for that is for the prompt and effective investigation of the offence and to confirm your identity and your name and address.
Well, it'll be unlawful arrest, won't it?
No, not at all.
Right, where do you want me to park my car
I have
then?
the suspicion that you're about to commit an offence.
Well, what offence am I committing?
I've told you, I think you're about to make off without payment, and if I don't arrest you, then you will make off without payment. So there's my grounds.
Well, I'm offering to make
Can you
payment.
come out of the car, please?
Yeah,
sir?
stop.
Okay.
There's no use to use violence, is there?
No, well, step out of the car,
let me
please.
just get my affairs together, alright?
Okay. Do you want to provide your details, or are you going to go to custody?
Well, I'll provide my details to you.
Yeah, but do you want to provide them to this man here?
No, but you want me to fill out a legal document.
Yeah.
No, I'm not filling out a legal
Okay,
document.
look on him, please, sir.
And here we go, the moment everything collapses. Despite all the facts, the explanations, and the clear offer of payment, the officer goes ahead and makes the arrest. Let that sink in. Arresting someone who is actively trying to pay. The justification? A belief that he might commit an offense. That's not solid ground, that's speculation. And this is exactly where it backfires. Because cases like this don't just disappear, they end up in court. And when they do, every mistake, every misunderstanding, every misuse of power gets exposed. This isn't just a bad call, it's a costly one. Alright guys, this is what happens when authority ignores the law.